now, we've kind of darkened a little bit, we've got a base, we want to highlight. So if we were going to just do that and then highlight, and then you could just do mascara and go if you wanted. So when you're picking a highlighter, well, we're going to do both.
Yeah,
do it all.
If
you were to stop at one. Because mascara is defining, right? Like, I mean, it's not going to define as much as liner, but if you only had time for one, I would do mascara rather than liner. So many people, it's surprising how many people will do liner and then they won't put mascara on.
Oh, no, they go together.
That's like buying cars for your, for cars. That's not like not buying tires for your car. Like, why would you go to all that work? Anyway, so base. So when you're picking a base color, a highlighter color, you want to generally go like a couple shades lighter than your skin tone. I would go with something probably more like a satin matte. You don't want to go too shiny because if we're using that to blend out other colors, something that's too shiny can sometimes like take too much out of the color or just make it too frosty. So shine is great for any age, you just want to be more specific about where you put it. So, but if you're buying just a neutral base, it can even be your face powder. Like if you wanted to really simplify your life, you could buy like a face powder and use that as your highlighter. Really? Yeah. Wow. Let's actually do that. Let's do that. Let's really simplify your life. So I like that. Yeah, you're like, what? Let's see, skin tone. Do the shade up. Now this is where like, tone of color wise, you want to make sure that it's probably on the lighter tone. So we want it to actually brighten. This is the Jane Iredale powder. I love it because it's got sunscreen in it. It's like really good for sensitive skin. It's really natural. You can get coverage of a concealer and foundation. Jane Iredale. You can, yeah, R-E-D-A-L-E. You can get it at like Willowstone. You can get it at, there's lots of little things like small boutique spas and things that have it. You can get it online if you know your color. Okay, so let's just see. You can do the lighter one now. I think we're just going to do the lighter one on you because I don't know if it's going to highlight enough. And this is where, like, if your powder's too close to your skin tone, it will probably nude it out, but it might not brighten. So we're going to use this one because it's going to brighten. So using the fluffy brush, when you're trying to figure out what brush to use, something that's fluffier and softer is going to soften and shear out and like soften edges, right? If this was small, so if we had picked a brush, like this is what basic brush most people have, something flat and shaped like that. This will add more color, more product, and it's a bit flatter. So it's a good brush to have. Like if you were going to have like, you know, two different brushes, one of those and one of those would be really good because then you can always kind of switch it up. Even just having two of those and like a liner brush. But this is good because you can get into small areas. So either or. But I like the fluffy one because it's faster. So I'm just going to start at the inner of her eye where most people kind of forget to put a bit of like highlighter because everyone gets tired and we all have nights where we don't get as much sleep as we should. So this area often gets neglected.
I never even would have thought of putting anything there.
Yeah. That's why I'm here.
Apparently.
That's why. So now I'm taking that color. Sorry.
Fantastic.
I'm smart enough. You can slap
It's
me.
okay. It's all right.
It's true. And because we've done that base, you want to usually, like, that base is going to grab what other color you put over top of it. So depending on like what color of base or what color shadow you're using next, be wary of if you just like blend it around, because we've got that brown there, right? If I just blend it around the light, around the edge of that to kind of soften it, so it kind of like fades it and softens any edge. But then we didn't go down any further and we were going to add another color, I would probably like go back and like just very softly dust and set over top of that, because whatever color you add on next will grab stronger. So, I mean, if you're just doing the two steps, then it's not so important. You can leave that kind of brown without the base over top of it. But if you're going to start layering other colors and they're darker, you don't want to get into that thing where it just kind of grabs too much where you didn't want it, and then it's harder to buff down. Because that base, like, holds. Like, when I do bridal makeup, they'll wear it the next day. I mean, I don't recommend it, but they do the 2-for-1 all the time because it just stays on so well, and it's so resistant to creasing and fading. I mean, even people who are really oily, it stays on good. And you want to make sure, don't put any eye cream on your eyelid. Don't do it. Not during the day. At night, go for it. Pile it on. But during the day, the more moisturizer you put here, the more it's going to get on your lashes, which is then going to break down your mascara. You know, all these things, we want to, like, write on a clean lid to use that base.
Yeah. Wow.
So let's swirl that in there. So you can get it right in there. Don't be afraid. I mean, because this is a neutral color, you can't screw up with it. I mean, I guess we could maybe, but it's very unlikely. So we're going in there and then we're just kind of softening around the edge. We don't want to highlight that much under her brow bone. Like, we don't need a really light color there because that naturally already comes forward enough. So it's more like that inner eye that we want to pop out and bring forward a little bit more, look up to the ceiling. And under the eye, most people get a reddish kind of line. So we're going to even that out. So now when we go in with color or like liner or whatever we're using, it'll be cleaner and softer and more even.
So I see a trend coming back, which is a lot of the eyeliner underneath the eye now across the whole lower lid, which to me was so back in the 80s.
Yeah, the 80s are coming back.
Yeah, and I really, in all the magazines, it's really coming back in with a very defined lower lid. So is that a good look for everybody? Because I think it makes me.
But that doesn't
scared me there. It makes me look tired.
Yeah, it does.
Whereas other people can do it.
Again, it's a trend, right? It's like when you're shopping and you're looking at clothes, certain trends are going to work, certain trends are not, or certain things you can adapt. So maybe you could do it all the way across, but not doing a really dark color, or doing it softer, or doing a shadow rather than like a dark.
Okay, because I do use the shadows, especially at night.
Yeah, because whatever you got on looks nice.
I'll do the underneath, but that's just a shadow.
Yeah, and you could do like lining the inner rim, things like that would be more subtle than doing like full like liner underneath. Because the more dark you put underneath your eye, like again thinking about the whole balance thing, the more dark you put underneath there, the heavier your eye is going to look, the more you're bringing darkness towards underneath your eye. So it makes no sense to me to do just bottom liner or just a lot of like definition down there. And again, it depends on your eye shape. It's not doing anything for you and giving you lift. So if you're doing a smoky eye, then fine, like do it all the way around, throw the rules out the window, but it's not going to be your most your best look, right? Like I mean, not everyone can wear skinny jeans, and they're not necessarily the most flattering on everyone, but can they work on a lot of people? Yes, you just have to work a little bit harder to make them work. So it wouldn't be necessarily your go-to kind of style, but you could make it work. Now, so we did the base, we did the highlighter, we blended. So let's go in with the liner. We're going to go in and we'll do a crease color too, just for fun. But so instead of doing pencil as a liner,
we're going to live dangerously today.
I know, we're living on the edge. Okay, so having a good angle brush is the next brush, the third brush that you'd want to have as your basic. So when you're shopping for an angle brush, I mean they've had ones at H&M, I've seen brushes everywhere, but you want to make sure that they're nice and tight and they're packed. Like you want it to be firm enough. Here, I'll pass that one around. Firm enough that it can hold the shadow, but you can push it. If it's too wide, like I find some of the set ones, they tend to be a bit wider or they tend to be too soft and you can't get a good line. We want to be able to create a line with that. So with that kind of brush, you can it's a synthetic and real hair combo, and you can wet it, you can use it for cream, you can use it for powder, you can use it for brows, you can use it for anything. So here you go, hold on, check that out. Just feel the firmness, try putting it on yours.
Okay, yeah. I've seen those color in place.
Yeah.
I might have one like that.
You probably do. And especially where you keep this type of brush, especially important, because as soon as you start throwing this into your bag, it'll start fraying on the edge and you lose the shape. So for $23, you want to save that brush and make sure it's something that you have for 5 years rather than 5 months. So.
Oh, she scratched the door. I better
Okay.
see.
So this is my fun regular.
So
it's highlighting colors. So this is my general palette that I use all the time, for bridal, whatever. You can tell which colors I use a lot. Doing photography though, warm colors always tend to look better on film, better than cooler gray. It just depends. It depends just what seems to work. And in black and white and stuff. And sometimes gray, if you use tones like that, sometimes it can start to go blue. So you have to be careful. So that's why I generally just go more brown. So we're going to do a really dark plum though. So I'm using a color called Sketch, which is, it's almost like a Merlot, burgundy. So I'm going to show you guys. So it's it's that color right there. It's like a really dark burgundy color. So with this angle brush,
Hello.
hi there.
Hello.
Come on.
Get your makeup done.
So we're going to go in with this. Now when you're starting with the brush, again, it's going to be your lighting your mirror is going to be really important. But you don't want to just pull your eye and pull this. And it changes the shape of your eye. So as soon as you relax it, it's going to go back to a different shape. So it makes more sense that you can hold it, but you don't want to pull it too tight. And how you hold your brush is going to make a difference too. So if you're trying to go underneath your eye, you're not going to get it right on your lash line. So where you keep your arm, how you put it, will give you more shape and more access to your eyelid. So chin up and usually elbow up a little bit more, you can see everything and do it a lot better than having just one eye open. So I'm gonna get you to close your eyes though, because you're not, I'm doing this here.
Mhm.
So I'm just going in and just placing this, almost just like kind of pushing and dragging a little bit. The key though is doing little like dashes. You don't wanna just try to do like 3 marks and you're done. You wanna kind of go in and kind of just like softly drag it and come up and back down from the same spot. You don't wanna like jump and skip. If you're doing like a really soft smudge look, that would work and you can smudge the shadow, but if you wanna actually create a line, you wanna do like little dashes and not lift up after, just kind of stay there and just keep going across. You can sometimes ground yourself with like, you have to hold with your pinky on your forehead to just kind of, or if you're using a magnifying mirror, whichever works. Now, with her shape of eye, I'm not gonna take this color all the way to the inside, because the more dark that we bring to the inside, the darker that's going to look. So what we want to do, if we think about like her eyelid, I'm actually going to make it look like her eyelid sits up higher at the outside. So if we stop at the center and we don't bring more dark on the inside and we just keep it at the out and even do it a little bit thicker, it'll actually make her lash line look like it sits up higher and goes at a different angle. So when you put mascara on, it would then be the darkest point, but this just... So I'll do like a hugging line just close to the lash line, and then I'll go back in and kind of just like lift up or thicken up a little bit. But you want to stop where her lashes stop. You don't want to keep going down the actual, almost looks like line of the eye, because as soon as I went down there, she opens her eye, it's going to be like down here, and that's not where we want it. We want it within that border. If you do it too far, a little trick is kind of going underneath your eye, the angle like underneath your lash line, and kind of just going up like that. I always do that with my liner. I've done a pencil and I'll kind of just like guide it to where I want it. You don't want it straight up. You just want to like gently kind of guide it where your eyelashes are going to be. So we're just going to go in there, and then you can even turn the brush up on its side. So instead of going like straight on, you can turn it on its side and kind of like lift the shadow a little bit. So if you want a little bit more of a smokier line. Because if you don't get a perfect line, we don't want it to look like it's just like stopped somewhere, right? We want it to... And then you can turn it, like depending on, because this is angle, like when you're at the outside, you might have it turned one way, and then when you come to the center, you might reverse it a little bit. So just think about that. Okay? Yeah, so now when you look straight, yeah, like we're keeping now, like if you look at her straight, that dark is just sitting more like at the outer part. Now you could always take that light color and soften if you've done too dark. Yeah, feel free to come up.
You don't mind if we stare at you, do you?
No, I can't see you anyway, I don't have my glasses on.
So I basically just have like right in here
That's unreal.
and across to the center, softened it into the lash line because you don't want to see, like you could always go in with your light color to blend that edge. And then just going like that, and then I just took the side of it and lifted. But shadow's much easier, because if you screw up, then you can always smudge it, or you can go in with your light color, the face powder that we use, and kind of buff the edge. That's why you always want to keep one brush light, one brush dark.
That's amazing.
Right? So it's still defining, but it's not like overpowering. And then you can use that same color underneath your eye.
Oh, where do you do it underneath?
So you did it all the way across,
Yeah.
right? So I'm just going to go in softly and kind of, again, you could slightly do it more at the outside and then taper it to the inside.
Right.
Again, you don't want it to stop at like a line. But because we did, look up to ceiling, we did a bit of that powder.
So you don't put eyeliner underneath or the pencil underneath?
You don't have to. It's just a little bit softer with the powder, I find.
Yeah.
And you can get it a little bit more like smudge looking rather than like a line, especially with like liquid. A lot of people, they'll do the liquid liner underneath and then they just leave it. And when you look at them, I mean, even if they do a really great job, all you see is the liner. When you're looking at someone, it's just distracting to the eye, right? Because it's just so pronounced. So, I mean, if you're a makeup artist, great, but if you're trying to sell someone something, all they're going to be looking at is your liner, and they're not going to be listening to the thing you're saying. So, like, what was she saying? But her liner was, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, you want don't want people to distract, you just want to compliment. So then, if you screwed up, then I would always go back in with a brush with that light color and soften the edge underneath. You know, you can do a dramatic line on the top and that's a look, but doing the really like harsh line underneath, I don't find is as flattering. So I'll go back in and just kind of smudge the edge of that and kind of set it a bit with that light color. And then that's why you always want to keep one brush light. You always have that one to kind of soften or clean up edges to be your eraser brush. And then you can have like a darker brush. So, your hair looks lovely. Did you just do something different? Okay, well, my hair looks softer. You just brush it.
did this.
Sorry, give me a back. I like it. Looks good. Okay, so other side. Close your eye.
Like it is.
Yeah. So actually, you can watch this if you want. If you put the mirror down here, you look down. So
That's
basically
straightforward.
just
Tracy.
and then like
Come sit with Bobby.
and then you can kind of get away, but we see how we're stopping at your lashes.
Yeah.
You look straight. We want it to sit behind
Right
where your
there.
lashes are. We don't want this to continue
Oh,
down.
okay, that's something I've always done, yeah, trying to accent the eye.
Yeah, and accenting any squint lines.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I'm doing, yeah.
Just go like that, and then just keep tapering it to the center. And then instead of like going in and doing another line to thicken it, you can always just like lift up that outer lid and down. If you look in here, I'll show you that trick. So it's using kind of the side of it. This might be a bit
Okay.
trickier,
Yeah,
but it's one way to use this brush.
it's funny, because lately I've been doing my makeup every morning, and I'm going, there's gotta be a better way.
Yeah. Just a different way. I mean, everybody, you know, has like little things that they do, and we just always do them.
I've been
until
doing
someone
it this
else
way
tells us.
for decades, right?
Sorry, what's it saying?
I just bought Sam's dog this huge bowl, and
That's
we took it over to her.
Alright, so that's softened.
amazing, wow.
My treat.
It's like a lot.
Pretty cutie. And, alright. So soften that edge. And then mascara, you could just go. You could also go in with a crease color, so
bottom?
Wow.
I showed up.
liner. I just did the liner that I did on the top and then just softened it with her face powder. So you can just use that as your base color.
But you use that eyeshadow to do the liner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do a pencil, like I do liquid or pencil sometimes, but it's sometimes a good way to start if you're changing colors. Like if you're doing purple or doing colors, it's better sometimes to start softer. Because you could always too, another alternative is to do your black liner, but then put a shadow over top of it with your like a shadow. Because it's still gonna be dark, but it's gonna change the tone of it and it's gonna soften the black and soften the edge of it. So when I'm doing like a liquid liner on someone, if it skips and there's a little bit of movement, I always go in with a powder shadow and just kind of soften the edge because then it blends and it looks more like uniform rather than like ripply. So, yeah, it's a good trick. So we could, if we had more time, I would go in and show like how to do more crease work, but because that little bit of brown already had a bit of tone to it, and we gave a little bit of crease work there. So that would be another day.